Right, so getting to it. The typical way for me is always to start with geometry. Now, I'm going to keep reiterating this just because what we might find, well, what I might find is people turning up halfway through these things. I'm not sure how well this will work, but we're going to give it the best we got. So again, what we're doing is a spring washer. The reason I chose a spring washer is it's something that if you submitted it for the assignment, it's really not enough, but it still allows me to examine what we're going to do. So I figured in this session, we'll get the spring washer, we'll get the geometry working, and we'll also get it controlled by a variable. There's a few loopholes that I'm going to have to do as I'm going through. I'd like to remain control over it. So in fact, I'll open one up and let's just have a quick look. So if you take these spring washers, if you look there, we've actually got slight fillets on it. We don't know what that fillet is. I've been having a look this morning to find out. So we're going to actually put a fillet onto it that's roughly around there. But what I want to be able to do is control it. Because if someone comes along and says, actually, this is a, I don't know, 0.1 fillet, I can still put on control onto it, and it allows me to have that further insight to it. As we're going through, I will pause for a few minutes, and what I think I'll do is I'm going to do something, and you don't need to follow me with this. I'm going to do something, and then I'm probably going to repeat it and do it again, but a lot slower, or vice versa. So let's kick off with it. Let's face it, we're past the point now of having to go through the process of building in the new parts. So I'll click record on new, and I'm going to go new and part. Obviously, that automatically addresses. Anybody who's spent the last few weeks automatically addressing, don't worry, I'm not going to give the game away with that. I know how much of a pain in the arse it was to get it all working for you. So, just concentrating on the spring washer. We know that the top face, well, I'm going to go from top face, and I'm going to go top plane and sketch. Circle, come from here. And then I'm going to come out of there. I'm going to go to front plane, sketch. I'm going to control an 8. And I'm going to put on a corner rectangle. And then what I think I will do, just confirm that and stop. So I'm happy with that for the minute. So this is going to be a split washer. So again, I've actually put on 2 sketches. The second sketch you'll see here was never closed. I've left it open. So I've now got these 2 profiles. What we're going to do is edit into the code and go to split washer. Right. Now, I don't know how well you can see that, so I'm just going to... By the way, if anybody types any comments, I can see it. So if there is something that's bugging the living crap out of you, please, just stop me and just tell me. It makes my life easier. So what I'm going to do is come back up, and like we said before, I've got my double, I've got my widths and heights, I've got the sheets heights, I've got the template coming from Dassault. I've got the part declaration. I've got the new part declaration. Here is my part numbering. So I'm going to remove that. Don't need it. I want Dassault just to control that for me. That's not an issue. Then what we're going to do is it comes in, goes to top plane, inserts a sketch, clear. Right. So what some of you will find is that you've got CosmosWorks top and bottom. Make sure you remove it, because all I've done here is I don't like to have CosmosWorks running in the background as well. So this is running from my laptop, and I just try to keep it as slick as possible. So let's get back up to the top, and in fact, before anything, before I get too carried away, because you know me, love to get carried away. Before I get too carried away, just going to run it blind. So I run it blind. Now, interesting there. Did you see that? One thing that didn't appear. I had a control and 8. So it was just showing that it didn't record that normal to view. We can make sure that's put in. Oh, 1 second. We can make sure that's put in, but it is a bit of an issue. So what I'll do is go back again. So these are the 2 profiles that I got. I'm trying to go steady away with this just because I want this session to be more of a getting started, if you will. And then what we're going to do is try to control this. The important things that we need to keep in mind is we need to know the radius of the circle that we add. That radius of the circle is going to be our starting point from this corner rectangle. That is going to be vital for us. As long as we know that, it should be pretty good. Because I've run the code now and close that. Again, if you've just arrived, all I've done is, if I just run this code, all I've done is this. If it runs through, creates a circle, and then creates me a corner rectangle. My specific aim of this is to create a spring washer. Okay. So I'm gonna come back. Now, if I refer to the dimension, well, if I refer to any drawings online, that's what I really wanted to do, is I wanted to have something that I could refer to. So I've got these here. So I have T for thickness, I have the B, and I have A for my internal. Now, this A will tend to be defined by M values. However, these thicknesses, interestingly, the B value, you can get larger or smaller depending on the application that you're looking for. Also, the thickness can be variant. So you can see there that it can be variant. So there's a few custom bits that you can put on this. But first things first, before we get carried away, let's get into this. So the actual external, this radius that we put on here, this from the drawing is going to be the equivalent of A. So what I want to do is I want to try and start setting up my variables. So I'm going to go dim A as a double. Now, what can be useful for me is if any website I get, if I literally go to here, jump along there, put a comment in and paste. What that is then is the URL to remind me exactly where I got this from. So I come back on, and if anybody was to question where the hell these values have come from, what they can do is trace back on the URL. To double, and then we've got T is equal to, oh, and we've got dim T as double. Right. Must admit, it's really weird being sat here knowing that there's anybody logged onto this. Okay. And yes, I will be using the e-cigarette. So when it comes in, again, this really depends on your specification on this. I've got a lot of people who like to have stuff going on in the background and then something happens. But for me, I don't like lots of things blinking and flashing around and stuff like that in the background. So I'll come to here, and I'm going to go A is equal to input box, open argument, open enter for prompt. What are we talking about? Oh, this is inner diameter. Drop it to millimeters. Oh, I don't want to close that just yet. We'll put a default in there. We're going to go with an M8, and we'll assume it to be correct just on the initial charts. So if I close my arguments there and then go B is equal to input box, close, and we'll do a comment, enter. Whoops. Enter, outer. Again, just put these two comments out, and then I will go for this 10, just giving it a 2 mil wall thickness, and then we have T is equal to input box. Again, just following the same procedure. Because what we're going to do is we've got to get this into position, we've got to get these sizes in, and then what we're going to do is choose how this is going to function. So we'll get there. So just give me 2 seconds. So we'll go enter thickness, 9 millimeters. And for this, I'm just going to make it 3 millimeters. Very tiny is this. And we may hit issues with that. But, I mean, technically at this point, it's actually meters. That's a gigantic spring washer. What I'll do as a reminder, I'm going to put myself some comments on there. So in this case, put myself some comments on there. So in this case, this will now become, because let's face it, you forget, I forget. Hell do I forget? This morning, I nearly forgot to come on here. And then I just, anyway, never mind. So for the comments on this, this can just be inner diameter of spring. And I know it seems obvious, but sometimes if we're going to change the input box, which we are going to change the input box, it can be a little bit like, oh, yeah. And if you end up changing vital input stuff like that, you can easily forget exactly what you were doing. Now, well, I can. And if you want people to be able to read exactly what it is that you were doing and be able to trace what you were doing for somebody else to continue, if you will, they need to know. So thickness. Okay. So we've got some basic parameters running there. My outside, now this is where we need to be clear exactly how this is going to function. So there's a few things that we can do. We can put the thickness on the inside or on the outside, but we must be relevant. It must be relevant as to where we're going with it. So what I mean is we either make our circle the inner diameter or we make our circle the outer diameter. What I mean is between the two, we need to decide which way we're going, because that is going to be the basis of our helix. So we need to be aware of exactly how we're going to do it. So if I get onto circle here, now for anybody, if anybody's unsure, so if I choose here, if I highlight this entire line, press F1. No, actually give me sod all. So let's try another one. Oh, this might be a good one. F1. Oh, this is not working for me this morning at all. Yeah. F1 should trace back what you're trying to do, and it can just give you a bit of more of an indicator sometimes. Clearly that's not worked very well for me. Right, so moving on, because that's embarrassing enough. I'm going to add my units area. So I'm going to go units area. Again, keep in mind, all I'm doing here is I've got my variables, and that's about it at the moment. And I've not really controlled anything else yet. You must, if you are going to put stuff on, I expect you to at least be trying to control everything. So one issue that I'm going to want to be able to do is actually put a fillet on these edges. Because if you look at any spring washer, the the sharp edges don't tend to be there. They've been ground down, they've been treated. So I do want to put a fillet on there. Even though I don't know what that will be, I'm going to add a control on afterwards to give me that control, right? Anyway, so I'm going to A is equal to A divided by 1,000. As we've done many times in class before, I'm going to do B is equal to B over 1,000. I'm going to T is equal to T over 1,000. Now what we got is we've got this grouping here. As we've done before, I've now gone from meters to millimeters, which is great. So, circle X, Y, Z, as we know, and we have another X, Y, Z. I always personally prefer to operate on the X value. So what I'll do is just set my Y value to 0. And this circle, this is what I need to decide. This circle, what's it going to be? Is it that inside or outside? Because interestingly, my inner and outer diameter, this is what's going to allow me to define the XY of the drawing for the corner rectangle. So this is why I need to be aware. Personally, I think that we make it... Let's make it the inner diameter. So if we make it the inner diameter, I'm going to set that to A. Now I've asked for diameter, so before I make the obvious mistake, I'm just going to divide that by 2. Now what it'll do is it'll come in and it'll set that in it. So again, I might forget what the hell I was doing, because I do. So defines as defined as inner for spring washer. Again, bit of a comment just to remind myself exactly what I was doing. I'm going to step through these initial procedures and see how it goes. So again, all I'm doing is looking for 8 in this case. So I'm going to run it. Make sure I'm happy with it. It's great. So come back in. Let's just look at the first drawing. Need to be sure, as long as that's giving me what I'm after, I'm not too bothered. Ever since I've done so, oh, never mind. Keeps defaulting to meters. You can see there it's in 8 millimeters. So it has done what I wanted it to. I even automatically did set this many times and it just keeps jumping back. So frustrating. I'm just changing my units over before I explode. Okay, so confirm that. So that says 8 millimeters. So that's good. Now, again, I need to point out this is a very, very, very new experience for me. So, has anybody any questions on this so far? It's because, I mean, to be fair, it's easy to forget stuff, and that's exactly why I'm doing this. So please fire away, and if there's anything you want me to do again, please, again, just tell me. Alrighty, then what we're going to do is continue. I can see the questions thing coming up, so I can see when people are writing. Just saying. Anyway, corner rectangle. This is where it's going to get extremely confusing. We're saying that our point is going to be coming from the inside. Now, we said there that the inner diameter will be defined by the washer. So, let me just show you the drawing again. If you look here, what we're saying is A will become our point. So we're actually building on there to define what B will be. So if I come onto here and I'm going X, Y, Z. X, Y, Z. Oh my goodness, what's happening to me? So what I'm going to do is go to A. Not bloody A. So this now will be started from A. If you think about it, it's like the circle. It needs to define where its origin will be. So I'm going to say A. Again, if you worry about this automatically updating, if I just click off, you see it automatically puts it in uppercase. So this is purely because I want the corner rectangle to, let me just come back to here. I want the corner rectangle to actually start from its origin, from the origin of the circle. So that's purely why I'm doing that. It will not have reference to where, in essence, where I begin. So in essence, what I'm trying to do is get the corner rectangle to start with a distance across. That distance, in this case, I want it to be connected to the circle. If it's connected to the circle, that means when we go to extrude and we go to revolve, we should be able to have a good idea what's going on. Well, not revolve, more sweep. So we're going to start from A, and then we've got X and Y. Now, in the other stuff that I've done before, I've always gone, yeah, well, I'll just delete this and I'll delete this and just work in X. This one's a bit more trickier because what you got to remember is on a corner rectangle, which I don't think you can make it show anymore. 1 second, let me see if you can make it show. You can't make it show. In a corner rectangle, as I draw like that, what it is actually doing is it's doing it through that way. And what we're doing is we're trying to figure out that point and that point. And that's what allows us to give it this. So the command of corner rectangle, this command, it knows what it's doing, that each line will be perpendicular relative to where the lines will be. So we know that X, we know that X in this case is going to be A, and it's going to be plus what the outer diameter would be, so in our case B. And then it wants an offset to go upwards. Now the beauty is with this, if you think about this, hang on a second, let me just come back. Oh, hell, wrong button. Wrong button. Wow, it's not happening from this morning. I think, dare I say it, I think I'm getting nervous. There we go. There we go. I don't know what's up with SolidWorks sometimes. Right. I come from the front. So there's his datum. Now, try not to, dude. So if I bring the cursor across, see that the tracking line. Now I know a lot of you guys didn't do second year CAD, so some of you will have heard the term tracking line, some of you won't. But basically, it just tracks to its origin. So if I left click, now what we've done so far is we've given a position of where that tracking line would be. If I move my cursor up like that, what you're actually looking at here is this dimension is A. This dimension is B. And this dimension is what would be T. So then what we've got is control of the whole thing. And because we used a formula for the circle, it means we can create the entire geometry in just 3 variables, which is happy days, happy days. If we can get up to a good amount on this, what I might like to do is to start dropping in some if statements and a few case statements. And then let's try and get some Excel working on it just for some gigs. Right. What was that? We're back onto the code. So we know now that all this is, because it's nothing else but T. So then we've got the starting edge, which was at A, because don't forget it wasn't above the datum, so it was just in that A component. We've got the next edge position, A plus B, which then takes that outer diameter. Then we've got an offset of Y, which becomes T. And that's what gives us that geometric outlet. So, saying that though, I could be talking total crap and it might not even work at all. So let's give it a go. So bring that across. And what I'm going to do is hit run. These are just the defaults out on there. Oh, that is not good. Oh, hell. So, what did I do wrong? Show you what I did wrong. A over 2, we'd ask the user to give us diameter. What I've done is done A over 2, then here I've gone, it's all right, let's just use A. Forgot that I was asking for diameter. So I'm literally going A over 2. Now I always put it in arguments. Not a lot of people do. I always do just because it irritates me. I just don't trust the software sometimes. I know it's a bad thing for me to say, but sometimes I just don't. Now this is purely because I'm asking for that diameter size. And also really, if you look at B, I'm also asking for diameter. So what I will do is do the same thing again. And it's just to make sure I'm in that correct format. Arguably, you could ask for radius, but you must admit, from any of you'll know that nobody really asks for radius. They tend to ask for the diameter. Oh, that went wrong. It's got to press the wrong button. Run. Right, so not happy with that really, because what we really need is something a lot smaller. So that's a good start. That is a good start. I'm happy with that. You'll notice I'm still in the sketch. What I'd like to do now is perhaps come out of the sketch and put it into an isometric. So like if I come from here, if I go view, and then go an isometric view, that's what it'll put it into. So what I'll do is I'm going to reset it back to how it looked. Doesn't matter from that position, just because what I'm going to do is bring it out and then change the perspective. Then we're going to use the drawing from the side, and we're going to use a helix onto it. We'll generate the helix onto it, and then we can start refining this. We can start doing quite a bit to it and have a play around with it really. So I'm going to record, come out the sketch, and then I'm going to isometric. Now the interesting thing is here, this was me automatically zoomed. So what I'd like to do is use a zoom to fit. So I'm going to left click zoom to fit. It won't do anything, but it will record that command. So I'm going to go stop. I always do this because I'm daft. I always overwrite stuff. So I always call it something blatantly wrong or different. So in this case, I always call stuff dummy, because then it's just bits of stuff. So right, we've got this clear selection. Now that clear selection of anything that's going on, then part manager, insert sketch, I'm going to copy and paste. So I'm going to go to the bottom and then I'm going to place this in. I've just realised. I'll come back to this in a second. I just want to add some reference to it. Right, 2 seconds. So on the zoom to fit here, I need to use zoom to fit just purely because when that code was running through, it was still super small. So it's not exactly what I'm after. What I really want here is where we have create corner rectangle, we have clear selection, and then I either put it here or put it above. I think I'll actually put it, interestingly, I'll probably actually put it down here, just beneath the circle. And then once it's on the circle like that, it should execute through and then bring it into play and then allow me to do that. I just want it just because the geometric reference, the database for it was a little bit out, wasn't happy with it. And to close this off, if you remember, I wanted an isometric view. Bring it onto here and then up to here and then run. Oh, excuse me, then paste. Right, so again, what I've done is I've done a zoom to fit. And then, yeah, I've done a zoom to fit. Then I've gone insert sketch. And it should make it a bit more relative to what I wanted it to be. I need to double check, though. So before I do anything else, I'm going to run this through and check because I'm not convinced. Not that I doubt my stuff, but I doubt my stuff. So if I run it through, let's run it again. Okay, so that's actually what I wanted. So it gives us that overall now. You can see there that sketch 2 is still selected. Not a happy bunny. So I think I'm gonna drop on another clear selection. What that'll do is just make sure that it's unselected, and it means that I can start selecting stuff like the sketch to create the helix, and it won't issue any like major problems. See on there, we've got the inner spring washer. I could do with just putting on here as a reminder what the hell this geometry was. So I'll say define spring washer cross section. At least then I have an idea. I have an idea of where the hell I was going. If anybody was to read this, they could track it back to some extent to know what my line of attack was, if you will. Okay, that ran through, and that's what it gave us. Now, because I put that extra clear selection on, it should give us that. Should give us something like that, which is great. Okay, so let's now add on the helix. So what I'll do is I'm going to record. You should start to see a pattern now of the procedure I'm following is just literally little bit, build it up, little bit, build it up. So I'm going to go curves, helix and spiral. And now it comes up because it says, the hell are you doing? You've not selected anything. So I'm going to extend the family here and then select my sketch 1. Now what it gives me is this crazy lifts. Now, I'm not actually after that at all. What I'm going to do is, because I don't know my pictures yet. Oh, that's bugging the crap out of me. Let me see if I can just change my units again. No, I can't. It's too late now. Okay, never mind. So, because I don't know my pictures yet, I'm going to drop that from 20 mil to 2. Now, the issue is there, if you look at that extrusion line there, these are going to collide. So what I'll actually do is just change that to 3. Again, I don't know what my pictures are yet, so I don't know. Wow, even that's colliding. I'll go 5 just to give me that offset. I can review it, see what it's like. If it's not any good, then we can change it. You'll notice I'm starting at 0 degrees. Now, if you look actually at the helix, this is the trick. This is the real trick, because getting this working is such a pain in the arse. It's such a difficulty. So the real trick in this is, if you look, it's here, but if I then change my starting angle and then put it to 90, what it does is shifts it back. Now 90 is using Y as a component. Well, it actually uses the counter component. So imagine the arrow that's traveling up. This becomes an axial component, or when it's talking about an angle, that's what it's referring to. So I'm just going to go 1 revolution, because if we just reflect on this, you see there, it is one revolution. So it's a good start for us. But again, this is me just getting the geometry right. Once the geometry starts to play a ball, then we can start to look and go, yeah, this isn't quite right, or this isn't quite right. So then I'll confirm that. And I'm going to be cocky, which never works out well for me. Oh, hang on. Sorry. Yeah, so I'm going to be cocky. And what I'm going to do is, if this works, because it might not work, I might look like a total idiot. So what I'm going to do is go sweep. And then I'm going to try selecting here. Now you'll notice no clicked on the screen at all. Purely because if I click on that screen, it's going to, if I can minimize touching the screen, it's the better. Much, much better. So if I click OK, and I'm going to right click and hide. Let's do a zoom to fit. And let's stop. Now that's a lot I've done there. It's not really what I do. It's just because I was just too excited to see what was going on. So let's just take a look. Jump back up. We're on to Dome. We should have plenty of content here for us to navigate around. Okay, so we've got helix, create defining line by sweep IDs, onto here, blank geometry referencing. That's just because basically that's the helix was selected and then it was hit with a blank geometry. So it's basically saying just turn it off. What I'm going to do, I'm not sure what I need in this. Well, I am sure, but for this demonstration, I'm not sure. So I'm going to copy the whole thing. And this area has been doing its job for me. I'm a happy bunny with this stuff. So I'm going to come down here. And I'm just going to paste in the first bit. What I'll do here as well is I'm going to give this a headline. Let's call it geometry. Let's call it sketch. 2D sketch. So then we've got this particular area, this specific spot. So now we've got that set. Right, where are we? We've got a helix insert there, where the helix comes in, and then we have a sweep. Then we have this. Then the sweep follows here. So the reason I was just taking a moment then is I just wanted to be sure where that was coming from. So let's go helix insert. Now you should remember for your assignment, you actually get marks for this. And this is putting comments in. And interestingly, if you put the comments in, they will help you do a better job on your assignment. And also you'll get marks for it. It's a double win. So on here, I'm going to go profile sweep. Just to remind me exactly what was going on. Again, just as of yet, I don't want to change anything. So let's get back to it. And I'm just going to run it through as a norm. And let's see if it gives me what I wanted it to. Because it very well might not. Oh, that was so close. Look at this. Why the hell is that turned on? Not a happy bunny. That's turned on, not pleased at all. So I could do with deactivating that, but that's the least of my worries right now. What we've actually done there is we've got everything running, and yeah, in fact, to be fair, that's actually running pretty sweet at the minute. So I'm just going to delete that, bring that back up so it's well organized, if you will. You'll notice there it's gone to, so look, for the helix, it's select to sketch one. And then we've got the configuration values here. Now I'd like to just do a little bit of examining on this. Let's take a look at exactly what's going on. So if I go back, bring it back across. So if I go back to the helix and I'm just going to edit on the helix, I just want to look, that's all that this is. So we've got initial values for 1 revolution. We've got the height. The thing is, because it's in meters, it shows you exactly what's going on. We've got 1.57079632679449. That is radians. All that is refers to radians. And what we have is multiple functions here. So what, just for some giggles, what we can do is let's change one of these values to see what it does. Because let's face it, we might want to be able to do other things with it. So let's just change that to 2. And I'm going to close that. And we're going to run. We go on like that. Ah! Hell! Not what I was looking for. So, let's have a look. What the hell's happened there? So I'm going to go edit. Oops, wrong one. So I'm going to go edit onto here. 2. So I've got 2 revolutions here. But if I come back out, swept and swept. So it's gone directly over the top. So that's quite good. We know what that is. So let's change that back to 1. Now, somebody said to me the other day, there's never any cheat sheet. Truth of it is, there isn't. What can be useful is to tell yourself exactly what's going on. These, by the way, control the alternate options that you get. So what I'm going to do is, to aid my understanding of the helix, I know that this is my revolutions. I know this for a fact, that is my starting angle. It seems crazy. It seems crazy to write these little things down, but when you're going through this, if you do need to use another helix, it can give you so much insight. Right, so we know now that this is going to stay as it is because the spring washer itself it's just got 1 revolution to it. So I'm going to change that now to 2. I'm going to close that. We're going to get rid of it. The trouble is I'm ending up with millions of copies at the minute. So I'm going to run again. So we've now changed the front 1 to 2. Back to helix. Have a look. What do we get? How interesting. Oh, hang on. It's been changed. I'm sorry, I'm just been a pain in the ass. What it essentially does is these values will allow you to jump in between options. That's all this is. So if I now change this back to 1, so this is initial start. So we'll call this start options. And then on here, you saw there we've got height and let's just go back, show you. See there, you've got height and you have pitch, and that's between each one. So what this will be is this will be revolutions. Now, this is what I'm interested in being able to control. So we'll go height and revolutions. Right, so it gives me an idea right there. So I'm going to come back up And I'm going to add another variable in. So I'm going to go dim. Let's call it rev. Makes life easier, does it not? Go rev as a double. We'll come back down and into, where is it? There. I'm going to go rev. And we're going to go rev. Because this now will control that revolution. So let's say somebody wants to come along and they want to just add 0.1 of a mil, 0.2 of a mil. The other thing in with this as well is we've also got revolution per height. So we've instantly got a recommendation for an if statement straight away. So the question is here, how in the hell are we going to fix it? Well, there's a few simple ways. We can run a basic if statement. We could run a loop, but we don't want to go too crazy over the top. Let's not forget, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to mark the living crap out of you all for this. So let's do it the right way, and then let's take a look at it. Right. So let's just scroll back up. So onto here. See, I might actually turn these sessions now, you know, into, well, just a massive, massive assignment example. And so then people can log on or not, or they can do catch up CAD. Sorry, I don't get out much, little friends. Right, so if I get to here, I'm going to go rev. Rev needs a value. So we're going to go 1 because we knew that was going to be a single revolution. Nearly made a mistake there, didn't I, ladies and gents? It's not rev. Oh, gosh. What's there? The variables are very misleading. It's me getting carried away. So what do we call it? We'll go HP. Then it's height and pitch. I'm going to rename it just because I think if we leave it as rev, it's going to leave a lot of confusion. It would confuse me, as I'm sure it would confuse some of you. It would confuse the living crap out of me if I left it as rev. So we need to get back down to the helix. We'll remove that and we'll go HP. Then we'll go on to the next section for it and then we'll define that as HP. If you remember, we wanted to keep it as balanced as possible because let's not forget, it's a spring washer. There is no real sophistication in this as of yet. What was our fixed value on that spring washer? Let me just come back. Is that 5 mil? So what I'll do is I'll go 5, and then I'm going to go HP is equal to HP divided by 1,000. Just gets us into them unit sets, which is great. I mean, arguably, you could ask the user for an input. In fact, we will do. Not just yet, but we will do. What we'll do is we'll put a user input onto it, and we'll make it even more juicy. So, before we move on, because I am keen now that, I mean, looking at how long we've been doing this at the moment, now, ladies and gents, for nearly an hour. So let me just close some of this down. I'm not logging off, by the way. And by the way, if anybody's worried that I'm actually recording the comments that are on screen, I'm not recording the comments that are on the screen. Nobody can actually see what's being said. Screen's running, that's all. Okay. So, sorry, I'm sat in the lab, and now there are some people here doing testing in the other room. You know, you just want to go in there and go, shut up! Anyway, sorry. So I'm going to run it through, make sure I'm happy with it. I am pretty happy with it. I mean, it does a good job. The only thing, if I was marking this, the only thing that I would be questioning is this. Don't like that. Something's gone wrong there. So I am just going to fix that. I like to try and fix the problems way before they start to erupt, because obviously smallest problems and they will erupt. So let's run that through. And obviously, as ever, F8 for stepping. So step, step, step. Brings us in, zooms to fit, puts a sketch in, puts another sketch in. Our cross reference material is done. Inserts a sketch, plays the selection, zooms to fit, and that's what we had. So let's just check what's turning that, because it looks to be sketch 1 that's been turned on. Yeah, look at that, something leaves it on. Okay, I'm sick of trying to figure out what that is, so I'm going to record, come into sketch 1, and I'm simply going to hide it and stop. It's going to bug me otherwise. So I'm going to put that into dummy, override the material that I put in there, and then I'm going to go to here and there. So that is my Boolean status and a deactivation of it. So that should now turn off the sketch. So come back and I'll get to here. At least then what it does, it just gives me the overall geometry, and it's... So I'm going to run. I forgot to... Oh, this, by the way, and I just rushed that. Someone should have said. See here, the block in the border. I left click on that block and it means I can run it, and then it will break it. It will stop it at that point, and I can step through this process this way. It should allow me to wait. It does allow you to go through it, but I forgot to turn it off. So it goes to the sweep, blank the geometry, sketch 1, blank, right. So that's what I wanted. Right, now this is almost complete as a geometry. It's looking pretty good, to be honest. I mean, I can change these offsets here. As we know, we can change that. We could drop it down. We could go from 5 to 3. Then run it again. Oh, no, 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 no. So I'm going to go onto here, stop that, then run again. See that? That was an illegal action, and it won't pass through because you see how they're totally connected? That's why. So if I go 4, for example, so they were basically, it was creating a zero geometry, and we all know how much we love zero geometry. So we look there now, and that's pretty good. So this corner is our sweep profile. That does the job, and that's what we're most interested in. Right, so if there's a base set here, one thing I want to try. Now, some have said to me, what about adding fillets? Adding fillets is such a pain in the backside. What I'm going to do is go back to the original. So go back to the original sketch. I'm going to edit. And I'm just going to control an 8 just to give me some reference geometry to it. And what I'm going to do is add in some fillets. So I'll go 0.001. I'll go 2. Wow, not that big. That's a bit better. I need to figure out why my units are coming out like that. Now, what I'm doing is putting these fillets on. If you remember earlier, I was talking to you about on the drawings, it doesn't actually say, but them fillets are there. So what we can do is control them fillets. And then if we were going to the boss, we could go and we could literally say, I don't know what sizes these fillets are. There's no real spec for them, but I've placed them on just in case you do decide to start adding a particular reference for them. So then I'll click OK on that. See, this is the argument with it because it is there. Unarguably, it is there. So if I click OK, now this is to make sure the procedure I want to try is going to work. So I've added fillets in the assembly, and if I click OK, right, so this is pretty good. It's still not a fix yet. That's like I'd like it to be. So let's just bring up a comparative. Snap this over here and put that there. And then let's go to the original geometry. Well, not the best example in the world, but let's see if we can find something better. Oh, right, here. If you consider this, arguably my fillets could be a bit wider, could be a bit bigger. I mean, the wall size on this is perhaps a little bit too small, but no, too big, sorry. But it's a good start. It's roughly where I wanted it to be. So I'm going to drop it, come back again. Now, the reason I was doing that is I'm going to go back to the code. I've got so many things on me, I'm getting myself confused. I'm going to go back to the code, and because I've done it the way I've done it, navigating through this is actually dead simple. Really is dead straightforward. So what I actually want to do is, you see where I'm defining the cross section here? If I bring that down, in fact, I'll come back up. If I bring that down to there, there is some really, really, really sneaky ways of putting on fillets. It's a bit frustrating, but what I'm going to do is just run it to there. I'm going to break it. Now run it to there. I'm going to break it, and then that means the code, as it finishes, should give me how it's going to look. So let's get to there, and then let's run it. So we come back in, and then let's close that, and close that, and close, yeah. And then we're going to run it again. So it runs in, and using my normal values, it should break. Right, so this is a good start. Issue is that we've got here, can't see the drawing. I'm going to close that. Well, I've stopped it, sorry. That's how it finishes. So what I actually want is it to come from the front. So I'm going to start recording. I'm going to go to view. And in this case now, I'm going to use normal 2. This now is golden, absolutely golden. Do not roll your middle mouse, whatever you do. This will turn out to be a total nightmare otherwise. So, see how it's all selected. We could try adding a fillet. So, follow me with this. I left click here, and then left click here. I know it's too big. Bloody thing. If I go 0, 0. Then I'm going to left click here, left click here, left click here, left click here, here, and here. You notice it's because it's registering as this. I'm going to take you through why this is happening in just a second. Confirm that. Confirmed. And stop. So let's get, I'm going to overwrite my dump. Yeah. I know it doesn't work, all this crap. I'm going to get onto here, and then let's come across. So let's get into domain. Now that's what we're expecting. Oh, Now, what it's looking for is it's actually looking for, this is interesting. Look at this, right? It goes line 2, line 3, line 3, line 2. It's missing all the other lines, right? So if I come back and if I go to my original sketch, now somebody said to me before, how can you tell? It's really true. How can you tell? So I'm going to step through this process. So you look there, this is line 2. Then it goes to line 4. Then it goes to line 3. You see there? This is purely because that was very awkward. Abdullah messaging me during this. He can wait. Purely because it misses the lines out. It sees the selection between the two and actually ignores the last selection and fills it with a command. But the issue is on this, we're using these procedures and it goes, I have no idea what you want me to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to try, I don't think this will work, but let's give it a go. We're going to try and squeeze this into command. These XY positions we need to try and configure. So let's just step that back and run through it again. F8, F8, F8. Line 2, line 1. Right, so onto there. Oh, I've got a second line 2 selection there. Pain in the arse. Right, so let's come back again. What we're trying to do is to control this process. Best way I can do this is I'm just gonna, in fact, oh no. I'm gonna, if anybody's not done on this already, if you right click and you see where I've got edit and standard, so if I drop edit, bring edit on, the edit tool allows you to blanket comment. So I'm gonna blanket and I'm gonna come up to here and I'm gonna blanket. So now we've got one fillet, one execution. So I'm going to F8. Oh, hang on. Just want to make sure all my pre-selections are all gone. F8, line 2, line 1, fillet. I've only got 2 hands. Right, so that's pretty sweet. So there's a few ways we can do this. We can execute each one step by step. We can try to run them all in one go. I reckon we try and run one in all go. We try and run one in each step. So let's try that. So what I'll do now is go back to my blanket on here, and I'm going to now unblanket that section. Whoops, that's me clicking off. Oh, and it's me clicking off again. So now if we go look back, this referred to line 4. And this was line 2, that was line 1. So if I go line 4, which I think is this, line 4, and I actually bring in line 1, what it should do now is it should now select the lower and the upper. So I'll come back, paste it in, go, and then I'll do it, and then I'll come back in. Right, so let's just for argument's sake, run it again, F8. Line 2, line 1, fillet. Line 4, line 1, fillet. Oh, something went wrong. That is a bar steward. So, let's try this. I'm going to copy that and put it there. Now, because this has already been declared, I can comment that out. So what we're going to do is try and implicate each fillet in each procedural step and see if that does it. So F8, line 2, line 1, fillet, boom. Line 4, line 1, fillet. Ooh. Ooh. Oh. Oh, that's juicy, is it not? So that's good. So we've got a procedure here that we can actually set up these fillets in a procedural, like step by step. They're always going to be equaled, always. So what I'm going to do is come down, make a little bit of space, copy and paste. And then let's have a think. We've got 2 more fillets we need to set up. So let's bring back up to here, and I'm going to uncomment. So I'm going to go line 3, line 3, line 4, line 3, and so copy here, line 3, line 4, fillet, copy the same execution, and then line 4, line 1. Is that line 4, line 1? Oh no, line 3, line 2. Ooh. So now what I still want to do is line 3. We're going to bring in the line 2. And then finally, bring that over the top, copy. And then that should now do as it's told. So, before I crack on, any questions on this so far? I know it can be head doing. This is why I thought we could go relatively heavy on this, but not too heavy where it's like, what the hell is this? We've never done it. We have done this before. This particular thing, controlling fillets in a way like this, we've not done a lot of this. I have done this on videos, and I figured there's no holes barred at this point now because these are the strangest teaching times I've ever had. But it's interesting. It is interesting. So, is there any comments? Anything? Sweet. So, again, if there is anything as we're going through, please feel free to just stop me at any point. One thing I do want you to keep in mind, I am going to keep doing this. Somebody said to me today, why don't I just record one session and then just replay the same one tomorrow? But there's no fun in that. I don't think there's any fun in that at all. What I might do is a progressional big setup. So we're going to take these spring washers. I'm going to use that website. I'm probably going to construct myself a bit of an Excel spreadsheet. We're going to set up some sexy counting procedures, if you can call it sexy. And in a minute, what I'd like to do is start putting some if statements on. We're going to have a play around with this. The other thing I wanted to do now is I want to make sure that everything executes the way I want it to. So let's just remove that, and let's run it. So I run that. Excellent. Now we've got control over 3 sets of fillets. These fillets, happy days. Okay. So I'm going to bring all these back in. Copy. Come into my split washer. Now you will often find when you want to just put things straight in, it really does not work that simple. So we're going to give this a go and see what happens. I suspect there's going to be something that makes us want to scream and shout and let it all out. So I'm going to go fillets, cross section. Again, I just want to reiterate, if there is anything as you're going through, please come and see me. What I've decided to do is make EIC 214 my ground zero, if you will. It's an ideal spot, plenty of space. and it just stops us from having more than, because I know it's more than 30, so it stops me from being able to have more than 30 in the room. So you are more than welcome to drop by if you've any issues, any concerns that you're struggling with, and that's how we're going to run this now, right from here right through to the end, and unless I'm told differently. It's not that you all smell. The truth of it is the university genuinely does want to protect you in these really strange times. So, back to the exciting stuff that's going on in CAD. Let's bring it back. Bring it back. Let's close that. What I'm going to do is duplicate. Now, that's purely because I've already declared it somewhere else. It was actually probably already declared somewhere. So what I'm going to do is run it, fix it in, and let's step it. Oh, hell. Oh, hell. This ain't good. This ain't good. Oh. Oh, that's really strange. That's actually worked. Of course it worked. No, it can be prone not to work. So let's just try. Now, we've technically removed that edge that the circle has been happy to operate with. And this is where I'm a bit nervous if this will work. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Absolutely bloody brilliant. Not that I'm kissing my own backside, but you know what it is. So let's have a quick spin. Check it. All seem to be on there. Provisional first run of that seems to be correct. Split washers actually not looking too bad. We've got that. We've got the iconic corner rectangle structure there. Got them fillets onto there. Thing is, at the minute, we're not on any specific geometry. I am going to juice this up a little bit more. I am going to make it that little bit more. So you have to bear with me with that. Okay. Right, where were we? Where were we? There we go. Right. The fillets. I just want to take a quick look. I'm going to evaluate. I'm going to actually look at the recording because I am going to record this. I figured it might be a bit of fun. Fillets on this. Look at that. So if I come back onto my fillets, let's go. Where are you? There you are. So let's scroll down to fillets. Bring that into there. And we have our fillets at 1 millimeter. So I don't know for sure, but I'd like to on control. So I'm going to go dim, fill, as, call it FT, as a double. Again, promoting that control. I can control everything. Reference to fillet. Oh, I spelled that wrong. Ref to fillet. So bring it in again. And we're going to go comment ref to HP was height and pitch. So it just gives us references to what the hell we were talking about. So we've got fillets. So FT refers to fillets. So I'm going to bring that down. Come on to here and go FT is equal to FT. Oh, sorry. To get me getting very carried away there. We can set anything. So let's go 2. Because what is often a good idea is just testing to see if something that you're setting is really going to work. Because it very well might not. If we're wanting this to become an option, we could do. Once we get to specific geometry, we can put it into a case statement, anything like that, make it nice and easy. What I intend to do for some sophisticated bits, I'm going to call up the notes because I think it'd be useful for you guys to know where these notes are if you think, oh, what the hell is that? I don't remember this. So I'm going to go FT. 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 So let's have a bit of an execution. Just double check it. You never know. Stuff like this can go wrong really easily. If you haven't done, because I mean, I haven't done through the entire session. Not because I was making a point, just because I was just as bad. Totally forgot to save. So make sure you save if you've not done yet. So let's run it. See that? So I've got the 2 here. Let's get into them fillets. Let's just get over to that. Let's have a look at that sketch. Oh, that's annoying me. Right, 1 minute. Really annoying me is that, because for some reason, it keeps defaulting itself. And I get onto my units. So if I set to mill, yeah, every time I set it, it just goes, yeah, I've set it to default. It's never in default. Ever in default. Okay, so look at that. I mean, look at the size of that. I mean, I've just been a bit daft there. Clearly a bit daft. So what I'm going to do is, I think we need to shift that down. I think it was more 0.2. Anyway, so what I'll do is go 0 point. And then let's get rid of that. And then let's run again. Perfect. Now we've got that control, and now it works. We've now got a nice geometry, which I think is looking pretty good. It's going to call up the split rings again. The split washers, sorry. I keep thinking of piston rings. Now, I mean, it's entirely up to you. In time, what we could do is we could start to stamp these. But let's just get this thing running first. Our overall geometry is running fine. Everything else is running fine. So, what do we got? We've got... Oh, we've got B and we've got A. So, we want to restrict A and B. What I'll do is I'm going to put in a provisional start marker. Start markers are great. Now, these markers are good if you're staying within one particular area. When we start to put in a subroutine and we start to drop in user forms, these markers do not work. So please don't try it, because they do not work. Right, so we're going to run in, ask the user. Now, I'm a firm believer in just checking, running it through, and then telling the user what they did wrong. So let's say if. Now what we're saying if B is less than A, really, aren't we? Or if it's less, if we say if it's less than A plus, let's go a minimum of 1 mil wall thickness. We could change that. So if we go, if A is less than, oh, no. If B is less than A plus 1. Now what I'm going to do is just put that into a comment, and we say then. So it's if the outer diameter is less than the inner diameter plus 1 to give us that wall thickness, then drop out. Anything that's equal to or higher, then fine. So let's come. If you've written it right, what you'll get is you'll get each command. So the if and the then will automatically get big again. I know we've covered this, but it's just nice to reiterate this and remind. So when you're putting an if statement in, you must be punctually correct. If you do not do this, what you're essentially doing is essentially, it's like submitting your final thesis as one giant paragraph. It's just something that you wouldn't do. So when you go into a statement like this, tab, just once, tab. I'll tab it in, and what it allows you to do is it allows you to present the flow of that check. So what we're going to do, we're going to say go to start. Now, if I delete and then go end if, so if you start a command, you must end the command. Now, if I do that, I've never really told the user what have they done wrong. They don't really know what they've done wrong, and it can lead to frustration quite a bit. So if I say MSG box, open brackets, enter. Now, there's many ways to do it. We've done this before. We had 3 different message boxes in the notes. Message box is quite easy to just relay what's going on. So what we'll say is zero geometry. Now what we'll say is wall thinner than 1 millimeter. And that's all we need to do. We just need to let them know what they've done wrong. So it runs in and does that. Then loops back again. So let's give it a go. We know from here that 8 millimeter and 10 will be fine. But what we'll do is we'll set the outer diameter to 8.5. Let's see if we can get this to loop. So I'll come into here and I'll hit run. Runs in as normal. So his inner is 8. Then we're going to set the outer to 8.5. And let's just see. So run. Yeah. So it breaks. So let's just double check. B's 8.5. A is 8. Well, it's actually technically 9. And then if I go F8, wall thinner than 1 millimeter, go to start, runs back in. So let's run that as normal, run that as normal, and run that as normal. Misses it completely, runs through. So we know it's running, which is great. So that's in essence the first logical step on the if statement. The beauty is with a start marker. Let's say we get to the end of the code. So if I go to the end of the code, we're going to use a mid declaration here. So I'm going to say, so I'm going to say input box. I'm going to say I. I'm going to say A. I'm not going to use can't use A neither. I'm going to say L is equal to input box. You'll notice that I've not declared it as a. Hang on a second. Do you want to run again? Question mark in there. And what we'll do is say yes /n. And then we'll close that comment, close that down. Now, a lot of people have gone, is this not a bit cheating? This is not cheating. Because in essence, what all I'm doing here is I'm actually not going to give a monkeys about that N. People just like to think, oh, I can press N if I don't want to go again. So all I'm going to actually make this do is not work regardless. They've got to press Y. Now, you've got really cocky people. So if I go if L is equal to Y, or if L is equal to lowercase y. The amount of people that do that. You go, and oh, sorry, I put a double if there. It shouldn't be a double if. should be just test and test, if you will. If you will. Well, I thought it was funny. So what we're essentially doing now is if I go tab, I've tabbed in, and what I'm going to do is then say basically if they put Y, lowercase y or uppercase Y, I'm going to say go to start and then end if. So let's run it through for the joy that this is. Run this through. Executes. Do I run again? Yeah, why not? Oh, what happened there? Just run straight over the top. No, I don't want to run again. So if I put an N, I didn't really have to put N, I could put anything. Run straight over the top. Why did it run straight over the top? I'll show you. See my start? It's below new part. So we could declare another marker where I go new P, noop. And then what we'll do is change this to noop. And it'll allow me to jump in between all of them. So let's try it again. Yeah, I want to run again. See how I've got the whole new, the template's been executed and the part's now running. Interestingly, if I just press enter, that just ends it anyway. Because all it's really doing is just looking for Y, because that's what we'd set it to. Okay, so zoom back up. Okay, sweet. So I'm going to hit save. And that's into the first section. Pretty much geometry running. I've got my if statements set. There's more if statements we need to put on. I'm just gonna nip to the loo. So can you give me just 5 minutes? I will be right back. If there's any questions, please fire away. I'm just gonna nip to the loo, so I'll be 2 minutes. Right, so what we've done is we've built that in. Now, what I'd like to do is offer a little bit of restriction. It depends exactly where we're going to go with it, but I'd like to put some restriction in there. I'm probably going to execute a case statement in this. Well, let's have a look what else we've got. Here, T. T's not right neither. So what I'm going to do is just drop on another if statement there to restrict somebody going daft. So I'm going to go if T is less than 1, then come back in, tab in, and I'm going to do MSG box, open arguments, go to thickness. Thickness less than 1 millimeter. So it's okay. And I'm going to go to start. Brackets into there, close. We do an end. And if. So that then puts me into a present state there. I've got some to control the thickness. I'm confident that that will do its job. I don't have to worry too much with that. So at least then the inputs are going to be a little bit more guarded. Yeah, the inputs are guarded, which is fine. I mean, arguably, here, by the way, we could change this to become variable. It's interesting. All we do is use an ampersand. Makes me wonder that actually, could we actually change that and put it into a for loop? Now we'll leave that for the minute. We'll leave that for the minute. I don't want to go too elaborate on this just yet. So what I'm going to do is I'd like to set a particular sizing. And I think the most biggest one that we could look at is probably B. So if we say B is a particular size, then what we'll do is we will scale the FT value. So our fillet value, we can scale that to suit. So what we'll do is say, I select a case. I mean, this is me even before I've started to pull values. So I'm saying select case T. I'm going to tab in. I'm going to say case is less than. We don't actually need to do less than 1 because we've already got an if statement to guard it from that. Arguably, we could actually remove that if statement completely, which I think I'm going to do, remove that statement completely and actually just replace it with our initial case, because this case will become a huge switch, if you will. So what I will do is say case is less than 1. And what I'll do from these positions here, I'm just going to copy that, and let's just get that tabbed, paste that in, tab that in as well. And then really, this becomes obsolete. So in fact, I'm going to comment that out. I've just added it, but the question is, do we really need it? And in short, no, not really. So what we can presume now is anything that is higher, then we can start to set things, which is good. So case is less than 2. Well, what I'd like to do, we'll say less than or equal to, actually. Just because I think I'll restrict that particular point to allow me to have variant, if you will. So I will say FT is equal to 0.2. And then remove that out. Three. We'll increment. We'll increment by 0.5. The trouble is with this, we don't know what that is. Yeah, we don't know what that is. I mean, if we leave FT there, and all I say here, FT is equal to FT. And then here, what I'll say is FT is equal to FT plus 0.05. And then that should now just increment it. And then we'll increment next by 10 and then just keep incrementing that way. It just means then that this variable here does control its offset. I mean, arguably, your increment you could control as well. What I'll do is initially set this up. Once we've set this up, we're going to draw a line underneath that, and then I think we're going to revisit this tomorrow because this is actually quite juicy. Quite like this. So, yeah, and then, so I'm going to set this up. Let's move on. Whoops, that's me just getting that wrong. Apologies. And I'm going to change that to 1. Change that to 4. Okay, then what I'll do is say case else, which is in essence saying, if there is something I've missed, just use this as a default value. So I'll say it's equal to FT plus 0.18. That was me just filling in the blanks, and I'm going to say end select. Then that gives me that overall. It's quite nice. Pleased with that. So let's just bring it down, and we're going to run it. So I think we run to a 3mm for T, and then let's see what it does. So come in. In fact, our default's at 3mm looking at that. So it runs in, it finds it, comes in, sweeps it round. Go and run again. No, I do not. And then let's just check. Let's check our profile, because that's what the big thing is with it. According to this, my profile is keeps doing this to me. After this, I will look into what the hell's doing this to me. It's irritating the crap out of me. So let me come back, come in, and we're going to edit 0.025. Happy days. So let's come back, come across 0.02 plus 0.0225. So it's working. So this auto selection is doing its job. I can change this, and the scaler process, you could scale it by whatever, you know, it's entirely up to you. But this is just to get it started. If you've not done already, ladies and gents, make sure that you hit save. I have recorded this session. If you are interested, if you did find it a benefit, you are more than welcome to build onto this. And if you want to use this as the direct execution for your assignment, the thing is you can't do it for spring washers. They're just, the geometry of them is very, very simple, and you need a little bit more complication factor within it. But this is not too much of a stretch to think about worm gears, lead screws, anything in particular. So please, you know, have a think about it and get that started. If you've, yeah, I'm trying to think if there's any issues, if you followed through and there's some things that you're just not sure about and some things that's left you a bit confused, don't panic at all. Come and see me as soon as possible. I will be in EIC 214. Come and find me, and I can show you, take you through the process. The idea of these sessions now is going to run this way right through. If you are a lot more advanced in comparison to where I'm at now, don't worry with that as well. Please drop by and I'll take you through it. So, ladies and gents, I hope this first session went all right. Before I shut down, are there any major questions? Oh no. I'm thinking tomorrow. I'm thinking tomorrow, guys. I think if we continue this on and we don't pardon my French, hang on a second, let me just stop this from recording. Right, everyone. So if you attended the class today, thank you. It's been an ultimate test for me because, as I said, I've been very nervous as to how well this would work. The guys who logged on found a benefit for it. And again, thanks, guys. And if you've not catch up with this, because we are going to continue this live and on the press tomorrow, 2 till 4. See you all soon.